tuned into the Virtual American Town Hall. I am your host, Mohammed Faheem. Pastor Lawrence Blackful Jr., my co-host, will not be joining us today. He's actually gone to a concert with his wife, so we do excuse him. And I got Ken DeLuck, attorney John Runyon, and Eric and Pete Tapaskar joining me today in the town hall. And slightly different format I want to try out today based on the discussion that Ken and I had. What are the top three topics in your mind, gentlemen, that you would like to see us discuss in the town hall today, starting with Pete?
Very good. How do you handle the future Afghanistan issue?
Okay, so Pete wants to talk about the future of Afghanistan. Eric, if you can unmute yourself and let us know what has been bothering you lately.
I would say COVID vaccination hesitancy.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
COVID
what was that?
vaccination hesitancy.
Yeah, COVID vaccine hesitancy.
Okay, John, what about you?
Quite frankly, I think Eric is right with the COVID vaccine hesitancy. I was just on the phone with a nurse friend of mine, and she was talking about nurses, and I find this hard to believe, but nurses that are actually quitting hospitals because of the hospitals mandating that they have to be inoculated.
Okay, hold the thought. Hold the thought. We'll come back to it. Ken, what do you think is top of mind for you today?
Well, the Supreme Court decision and the fact that John Roberts was in the dissent, I think that's something that deserves to be talked about, not so much because of the abortion issue, but more because of what it means as far as what that Texas law is doing. It's like kind of making my head blow up.
Okay, so we got three topics that I'm looking at today. One is, what is the future of Afghanistan? What do we do over there? Vaccine hesitancy and the Supreme Court decision. Let's try to keep our comments to about 2 to 3 minutes max, so we can have everybody get something to see. But Eric is hopping off, and he's got another meeting to catch up on, and he will see the recordings later. So let's get started with Pete. Pete, topic of the day for you is, what do we do with Afghanistan? Go ahead.
Now we are out of Afghanistan after 2 decades. In the long run, this is a good decision. Although there are some tactical errors have happened, and in any situation of this kind could happen. But the problem issue is that how do we handle in future? Still, we have almost 1,000 American citizens are left, and a lot of people who have helped us, in Afghanistan. How do we handle them? This is a small issue in comparison with what could happen. How do we protect the women in that country? And this could spread it to the rest of the world. Because
okay, Pete, hold the thought. Hold the thought. Let's like I said, let's just see what others have to say on that. John, what do you say?
I think we're going to watch Afghanistan implode. The Taliban is taking over the country. It's going to be Sharia law. They're going to revert back to a very, very rigid, structured religious belief thinking. And I really think that any movement that we've managed to make forward in that country to help the people, I think is just going to be negated by the Taliban and their thinking. And it's just absolutely a shame. And I feel so sorry for the people, but we're not the world's policemen.
Okay, Ken, what is your thought on this?
Well, I got 3 points to make. Point number one, I got to give kudos to the president for actually having the cojones to pull the trigger and get us out of there, because we have no national interest in that area, no economic interest in that area. And there's no right answer. There's no good answer. It's just like, what's the worst scenario? Do we risk more lives being in there? Yeah, it makes no sense. So thank you for doing that. I'm sorry the 13 servicemen and women, had their issue last week. But the other thing is, I have more optimism because over the past 20 years, now that the populace and especially the younger people have seen a whole different world point of view than what they've had in the past, I'm mildly optimistic that may help change things. And the Taliban, where they were completely over the edge, are not as bad as some of the more radical sects and things going on. So knock on wood, something works out on that end.
Okay, Gaurav, what is your thought? We are discussing 3 topics of the day today. Our pulling out of Afghanistan, vaccine hesitancy, and the recent Supreme Court decision regarding abortion.
So right now you're talking about pulling the troops out of Afghanistan, right?
Right, and keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes max.
Okay. First of all, yeah, in one way it's good, one way it's not, because of course, like John Runyon said, we're not the world's policemen. I totally agree with. But the thing is, there was one way you could have done to pull the troops out of Afghanistan. You could have done it slowly, gradually, not all at once. Because if you pull them all at once, what Biden did, unfortunately, if the Taliban rises up, of course, not only are they having an effect on Afghanistan, but these Taliban people, as you know, history shows it, they're anti-West and that too anti-American. My biggest concern, fear is, what if they start doing terrorist attacks all over the world, not to in America? What if another 9/11 happens? Because Taliban totally doesn't like America, doesn't like the West, and that too, they're mostly anti-American. So this is my biggest concern, that another 9/11 might happen because of this issue, this incident.
Okay, let me come back to the comments that you folks have made. John, starting off with you. And you're concerned that the Taliban might go and regress back to the, to the previous administration when they were in power and they had a lot of, fundamentalism going on over there. That is what your concern is. And Ken, you're saying we have no economic interest in the region, so why the heck were we there in the first place to begin with?
I know why we were there in the first place, but that ended the year after we got there, basically.
Right. So why did we continue in that vein? And my question, do we have the right to go and impose our values on someone who really don't want our values to begin with?
Not exactly, no. They can do whatever they want.
Well, here's
as long as they're not a threat to us. As long as
here's the thing, and I have to and Gara, hold on just a second. Yeah. You make a bomb in your home, and then you bring it over by my neighborhood, and it blows up. All of a sudden, I'm real interested in what you're doing inside your home, and I'm using that as a very simple analogy to you're making a bomb or training terrorists to fly to come over here, learn how to fly airplanes, and then fly them into the World Trade Center. Those are the kind of things that make me interested because of national security. Now,
John, can I respond to that really quick?
Sure, go right
John,
ahead.
you're absolutely right on the money on that.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second,
Okay.
Gaurav. Let Ken respond to that.
There's 2 points in that. Number one, our capabilities in 2021 are extremely different than our capabilities in 2001 because of the drone technology and everything else that we have going. And 2, I think the Taliban has significantly changed in their outlook. They're looking to start a government. They're going to need world support in order to make that happen. They're a very poor country to begin with. And I think you're going to see, even though they don't share the same values as we do, they're probably not going to be outreaching to do the terrorist stuff as Al-Qaeda or ISIS or some of the other more radical groups.
And I have to agree with you there, Ken. You're seeing this movement. I mean, this is nothing more than the Fidel Castro movement to do what he did in Cuba, and then now it's an economic thing. And I agree with that. And if they can create a stable government and they can do their thing, do we have any right of forcing our views and values onto another country? No. I agree with Mohammed on that question. And if they want to come to the table, well, then that's what we'll do. We'll bring them to the table if they can present themselves in a lawful manner.
John, especially given the fact that we have spent, quote unquote, $2 trillion over there so far. And it is not just spending the $2 trillion, folks. It is the interest on that money is supposed to be like 500 billion per year. It was not money that we had. We borrowed the money to spend. And by the time we are done repaying that money, it's going to be close to $6 trillion. That's a lot of zeros in there that is coming out of yours and my pocket with no return on that investment for us. So is it justified for us to go around and saying, I'm going to come and beat you up, and then I'm going to, leave, 15,000 people over there? Over 2,400 young men and women have died in this fight. I want to follow the money over here, folks. Who got rich off of these wars?
The military did, of course, the Pentagon, and maybe, of course, the government.
The military did?
The private people who did that.
The people who supply the military.
The
There you go.
people who supply the military, but the military did get a lot of benefits.
No, the military would get paid no matter what, whether they are in Afghanistan or they are sitting over here, in Fort Hood in Texas. They get paid, okay?
Yeah, they do get paid. They get benefits, and also the people supplying the ammunitions.
There you go.
Yeah.
Private people private businesses who did that.
There were over 1,500, I believe, is the number, contractors, quote unquote, in Afghanistan providing support services. So those were not really combat soldiers. Okay, they were doing support services, maintenance of aircraft, maintenance of facilities, all of those things. Somebody has made big money in this, all folks. I mean, that is my concern. Why was Congress not asking these questions? During all these 20 years, what were the Congress people doing? Why were these questions not raised?
Because if I could say something for me, I think it's because Congress themselves were probably getting paid. They were probably in on it themselves. There is some conspiracy involved in it. I don't know too much, but I heard some stories about it. So it's a big pyramid thing. So you have to
unless we have facts, let's not talk stories.
Yeah,
but that is a question, that is a legitimate question that has been coming in my mind as to who is getting rich off of these wars. I mean, every single day there is some kind of conflict or war in some part of the world. And if you look at the biggest suppliers of ammunition and, all the war material, they come down to like 5 different companies internationally, not just in the United States. I mean, they are all linked together.
Yeah.
Pete, you've been awfully silent.
I think you are 100% correct. This economic interest of the few people, profit-making companies, they are morally responsible to, keep the war going on forever, for a longer time. So that is how they will survive. And that has actually world will change itself, generations will change and other things on their own. So civilization always happened in many civilizations we have passed. Afghanistan also would have changed over a long period of time, but we wanted to do it faster because they attacked us on 9/11.
Pete,
So,
I have a question here for the panel. Okay, why would we want Afghanistan to change? Change towards what?
it has to become more civilized.
and more modern.
Okay. Well, they have their way of life, man. Why don't we leave people alone to practice their way of life? Okay.
They could do it as long as they're not a threat to us. As long as they're not a threat to the
So
Western world.
hang on one second, Gaurav. So did we go in there to change their way of life or to punish them for what happened in our country on 9/11? John.
We went first.
Oh, I think initially Ken is absolutely correct. We knew exactly what we were doing. We were going in there to punish what happened on 9/11.
Find bin Laden, we did
And-
that. We should be out of there, but right?
Yeah, and well, this is nothing more than, at least I look at it as nothing more than our next generation's Vietnam. I mean, we supposedly had an American warship attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin, and next thing you know, we've got 500,000 troops in Vietnam, and we're fighting, and there's no clear exit strategy, and we're not exactly sure, other than we don't want communism in our doorstep. So we're there in Vietnam until President Nixon pulls us out in 72. So here we are again. We've got a tragedy attack that kills 3,200 plus people, and we're able to zero in on who did it, and we go after them, and then we stay there because we don't want terrorism now in our backyard. And now President Biden, as Ken just said very bluntly, had the cojones and the stones to get us the heck out of there, which I applaud him for doing.
Yeah. So on that note,
Three
folks,
words.
it's
Three words I'm going to say. Eisenhower said it a long time ago, the military industrial complex. That's why we stayed there so long, because there's money involved in it. But,
okay. I
They're
think
get-
we
they're
are all
getting the
agreed.
benefits, Ken, of this war.
Yeah, we are all agreed on that one point, folks. And so let us, continue the discussion some other day. And I am real glad that President Biden, like Ken said, had I use the word guts to pull us out of there and put a hard deadline on it. Yeah, now the implementation could have been done better, but what are the chances that the implementation was purposely screwed by the people who were tasked to implement it in order to make us look bad?
You don't want to think about those things, because then that forces you to think about people that are disregarding the value of American lives and everything else. They're just there for, elongating or maintaining the battle to make their own money, and never mind the interpreters that are there, the people that help the American servicemen in their tasks, and the servicemen and women that were there themselves. I certainly don't want to go down that black road at all,
Okay.
even though history does repeat itself. I don't want to go down that road.
Okay, so let's end the discussion of that topic now, Gaurav. We can always continue the conversation next time around, because this is not going to finish this week.
It's a never-ending thing, it seems to me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This thing is going to continue, for quite some time. There's discussions. Let's come back to our second topic of the day that Eric started off, and John kind of jumped on it. Vaccine hesitancy. Why do we still have it?
I don't even begin to say that I would have the answer to this. I mean, I'm 64 years old, and I've had my own little issues medically. And I was trying to get the vaccine, and I couldn't get the vaccine until the Reverend actually helped me get the vaccine. I don't understand why people have this hesitancy when they see the unvarnished, horrific pictures of all of these American citizens laying in hospital beds on respirators, on oxygen, and then the daily, and I can't help but saying this, every night we would sit down at the 6 o'clock news, and here comes whoever our news broadcaster is on CBS, NBC, or ABC, and they're giving us the raw data of how many people are in the hospital, how many new cases been detected, and how many people have died today. That's what I grew up on when we were in Vietnam. 6 o'clock, Walter Cronkite how many skirmishes did we have? How many people, how many enemy did we kill? And how many Americans were injured? I don't understand this idea that we're so hesitant about getting a vaccine that has proven itself to work and has proven itself to be effective. And yet here we are saying, no, no, no. I don't get it.
Well, let's try to keep our comments down to 2 to 3 minutes max, so everyone can get to express their opinions as to what the heck is happening in our country. Okay, Pete.
Yeah, fine. I feel vaccine hesitation shows the disrespect to the science, and the media has to take blame of itself. Why media is dividing people on an ideology basis? Ideology is a higher value than a science. We are getting a benefit of science last 200 years, and disrespecting the science and ideology is kicking us, and media is playing havoc on the people.
Okay, Pete, when you say media, which media are you in particular referring to? It's not
Anybody
all the media.
who do not believe on science and
Okay.
who is propagating the unscientific things. That is media is supposed to be educated. And today we have electricity, we have computer, all these are media, right? We went to the moon. So all these things, media has, educated the public. Media is playing the role of the education today. And they are wrongly educating and misguiding the public.
Okay, that is Pete's thought. Ken, what do you say?
I say, and I just don't, for the life of me, understand how this is even possible, that somebody who's in the medical industry, nurses or whatever, they're hesitant because they've been educated. They should know what's going on. And anyone who's in that industry that does not get vaccinated should not only be fired, but charged with medical malpractice. That's my opinion. I just think it's totally ridiculous.
Well, Gaurav seems to give you the thumbs up on that. Folks, if you have any comments at all, please put them in the comments when we upload this video on our website, which is www.thevath.com. This is the Virtual American Town Hall. It is your town hall. Participate in it. Talk to us about issues that are keeping you awake at night. And not just talking about issues, how do we resolve things without getting into this partisanship of the right and the left and the Democrats and the Republicans. Let's look at it as Americans first. What is in the best interest of the country? Is it in our interest to make sure that this pandemic, this virus is controlled? All science is telling us that, yeah, this is going to come and this is going to mutate. It is going to be with us for the foreseeable future, or maybe for a long time, not just foreseeable. We don't know when. So if somebody is asking you to put your seatbelt on when you're driving on the highway, why are we following that rule then?
Simple rule, because in case you get into an accident and somebody hits you, it can save your life. You may be injured, but you won't get killed.
Okay. So I think that boils it down to the fact that, yeah, when you take the vaccination, there is no 100% guarantee that you will not get the virus, but there is proven factual science behind the fact that, yeah, when you do, or if you do get the virus, you're not going to get as sick. In other words, when you get into that accident, you're not going to go out through the windshield. Okay, you'll still be in your car, and there's a chance that you will survive this particular accident. What do you guys say?
I agree with that. I mean, the seatbelt law met with a tremendous resistance, and they put it into place anyway. And we've seen our fatality accident rate drop, and a lot of it is because of seatbelt laws. And you have to remember too, seatbelt laws has a secondary purpose besides, saving a person's life from being ejected, and that's certainly one of its primary jobs. But it also allows the driver to stay in place in the driver's seat and try and regain the car after the accident has occurred, if the car is still moving, and bring it to a stop safely. So there is a couple different purposes for the seatbelt rules, and the secondary one that most people don't think about is trying to regain control of the car. Obviously, a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I wanted to bring out today, folks. It is for the betterment of not just yourself, but for society at large. Why don't we look beyond the political spectrum, take our spectacles off, and see what is in the best interest of the country? And not just the country. Internationally, this virus is spreading, right? So we can't really afford to envelop ourselves, in a cocoon or a balloon, and say, hey, we're going to be safe because we are going to shut out all the borders. No one's going to come in. Yeah, the virus does not need a visa, guys. The virus does not need an aeroplane to come over here. It could just float in on the air from anywhere in the world. Why don't we protect ourselves? Sounds silly to me, the argument that it is going to impact on my personal freedoms.
I think if I may agree with you, personal freedom is secondary for everybody if the question of survival of the human species comes up. So survival is most important. Personal freedom and all these things are irrelevant when we are talking about millions of people going to die.
Okay, folks, on that thought, we would leave this discussion for today and come to our final point of the day that Ken had brought up. Ken, can you educate us as to what is happening on that?
Well, I got to give John Roberts credit. He was in the dissent on this recent decision not to take up Texas
Yep.
new law
Abortion
about
law.
The abortion issue. And I'm not even going to go into is abortion right or wrong part. What is really scary is the reason they got around this, they are not going against the state, making where someone can go against the state for their things. They're saying that anybody who knows anybody who helped somebody get an abortion, and that can be anyone from the Uber driver to the nurse to whatever, not only can they go against them, but they can sue them for like $10,000 a piece. Effectively, abortion has been completely shut down in the state of Texas, and there's 7 or 8 other states that have bills on the books that are very similar to this, and I'm sure they're going to switch in right away.
I think what you meant to say was that if someone says something about someone who had gone to get an abortion, they would actually get a bounty of $10,000, not get sued.
No, they'll get a bounty of 10 grand. Yeah, well, that will go against the bounty is going to come from those. If you're the Uber driver, they will actually be liable to pay that $10,000.
Okay, my understanding was slightly different. I thought the state was going to give a bounty to somebody who is,
It's worse than that. It's worse than that. And that's the reason why this law is so hideous, is because you can have like just people who want to make money, and they're going to be out there with their binoculars looking around to see someone they know who may be pregnant. And they're talking after 6 weeks. Well, most people don't even know they're pregnant till after 6 weeks. So that's like an almost impossible bar to get over. So if they know somebody that's done it and they go against them, they're the ones that are getting the bounty from the people they're going after, whoever helped the person.
So John,
get abortion.
John, do you think this is going to be appealed, or if Supreme Court makes a decision on something, what is the next step?
This is such a polarizing issue in our country. A woman's right to choose and a woman's right to do what she feels is correct for her at that moment with her own body, and then at the same time with state action coming in saying, well, we know about Roe versus Wade, but I tell you what, if you take an Uber car to the clinic and you walk in that door, the Uber driver is liable. If that woman walks into the reception center and a receptionist little girl is sitting there, and she's liable. The nurses are liable. The doctors are liable. That's how they're trying to skirt the Roe versus Wade decision that gave the woman the right to choose.
Yeah,
And
John, let me just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let me just bring this in perspective. Let's say someone who's totally against gun control, okay? They find someone who buys a gun and tries to put those same standards against the Second Amendment. And they do and sue the supplier, the clerk at the gun store or whatever. This is a very slippery slope from a constitutional level. Forget what the underlying cause is. It's just, this is some place that you don't want to go because that's not a country you want to live in, no matter what side of the aisle you're on.
No, and I agree. I agree with what you're saying. The firearms Second Amendment issue is certainly a good analogy. The problem is that the founding fathers created the Second Amendment and said a person has a right, to bear arms for a well-run militia. Now, the Supreme Court has spoken out repetitively on the Second Amendment. There is no amendment in the Constitution that would govern the right of a woman's body, other than maybe the Fourth Amendment for privacy issues. And that's probably where we're going to have to attack this law if somebody is going to raise the hue and cry on this, is that the woman still has a right guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment that she is able to do something with her body that is not going to hurt someone else. And then the argument goes down the slippery slope. Well, the someone else that you're talking about is the fetus that is gestating inside the woman's body. So this is going to be another hotly debated and hotly contested idea that will probably make its way all the way to the Supreme Court to piggyback with Roe versus Wade. And it's a shame because we're talking about life and a woman's right to unilaterally terminate that life. So it is a hotly contested issue. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Thank you so much, John. And on that note, we are going to be ending the town hall today. Folks, you're tuned into the Virtual American Town Hall. We meet here every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Feel free to join us. Go to www.thevath.com for the Virtual American Town Hall. Log in, register, join as a participant, bring your thoughts, and bring your energy to America. On that note, good night, folks. We'll see everyone next Thursday, 6 p.m., same place, same time. Good night,
everybody.
All right.